I'm with Philip Smith, who's head of digital content at Brand Republic, and as part of that, Philip, you do Brand Republic TV. I wonder if you could tell me what the kind of concept is there and how it came about.
It came about because we had two needs. One was that we wanted to tell stories differently, and video is a great way of telling that differently online, but also our sponsors, our advertisers, want to do something different with us as well. So it was not an accident, but it was a happy coincidence that when people are asking to do things not just on the page and with our print titles, not just as display advertising on our website, that they want to be associated with a new project, we also had the facility to do that with video as well. So we brought the two together.
And the format you follow is pretty much, although of course it's on the web, it's pretty much broadcast standard, isn't it?
We'd like to think so. There is still, you would change the actual video if you were going to broadcast it. Online video, because it's being compressed, doesn't need to be quite to the highest definition. But yes, we were very conscious that this had to be shot in a professional setting, in a studio type environment, because of the calibre of the guests and the conversations we wanted to have with them.
And what you're essentially doing is a magazine programme, very watchable magazine programme. And the one I watched recently was about Hovis and the Hovis commercials. Can you tell me sort of how you start with an idea like that and where you take it?
Yes, it's a big challenge because traditionally in the trade press, and I use the word press advisedly, we've tended to think about our ideas as how they look on the page and how they look in text and how they look with pictures alongside. When you start thinking about video, and of course we make these mental leaps with online publishing anyway, because of, even with words and pictures there, but when you really start thinking about video, you have to really start thinking about how you tell a story by use of video. It's not just about an interview anymore, it's also about, is there footage, is there video, real video that we can put in there? And of course something like Hovis lends itself to that because it had a very exciting ad that broke a few boundaries, a lot of people in the industry were talking about, and so we were able to show the creative, show behind the scenes of the making the ad. That's something we just couldn't do in print before.
And you also have a discussion, a studio discussion.
Yes, I think it's really important to bring those ideas to life. And often people in an industry reading about the stars of the industry, so think about advertising. We interviewed Sir Martin Sorrell a year or so ago. Sir Martin Sorrell, we often read his famous bathtub-shaped recession quotes and so on, and we see them in black and white. But actually, I think it's intensely powerful to bring that person alive with video, because you see when he really does mean something, you can hear him actually explain it, and he does talk to you in a very different way than when you see the words reproduced in black and white, in print, or even as an online piece.
So, having all these facilities at our disposal, particularly in the trade press, must be a wonderful, liberating thing for you, isn't it?
It is. It's also intense pressure, because you are learning, you are trying different things. You are also finding that people are growing up with this as well. So for instance, I used to always think, when I was thinking about news journalism, that press conferences were a waste of my time, because I would go along, there'd be 10 other journalists there, we'd be firing questions at someone, everyone could hear the angle I was pursuing, and I could hear what they were doing. It was not a great way of getting an exclusive. Of course now, if you tell me you're going to host a press conference about your latest book, I will certainly be there if I want to take some video of you talking about that particular subject. So suddenly the press conference, I think about in an entirely different way. So we start thinking about events very differently. They have an importance with video that they haven't had before. And I think those sort of examples are a way we're having to adapt our thinking. And it's a challenge also to all the people around us, whether it's the agencies, the professional contacts, whether it's PR agencies who ring me up and say, I want to be on brandpublic.tv. Well, please come up with a visual idea, not just a fancy statement.
And of course there are a lot of skills involved in this, and to put together your broadcast, which is probably about 20 minutes or so in duration. What are the skills and the team that you need to have around you to do all that?
You're absolutely right. There are a lot of different talented people involved, and I have the pleasure of being the front person for that. But I would certainly say the big thing about it is, if you do feel that your video needs to be of a studio-based variety, you will need people who know what a good studio is. You will need people who can operate at least 2 cameras. You will need people who can edit well, and you will need all those so-called sort of TV production skills involved. That said, my broadcast training was a long, long time ago, and I made sure that I was up to speed in terms of my presenting skills and what I was doing with video myself. However, you also need a lot of people around you who say that works or that doesn't work, and has the bravery to say to you, look, that's not a good idea. So yes, it's a big team, and you do need to take the best from it.
And you're using a professional studio with professional editors and all the rest of it?
Absolutely, and you'd be surprised to find how much of that can be available if you look for it, particularly at a time when the TV industry is under pressure and people are trying to diversify, studios do have downtime and so on. That said, I'm also a firm believer in publications using video in different ways, and that may not always need to be studio based, and certainly we've got some great examples here that aren't studio based, and we can do that with a journalist who ostensibly is a print journalist learning video skills and doing their own thing. So you don't always need the big production, but for this project we felt we did.
Who is in the team? Can you go through the individuals and their roles?
I can, but they do change. So, for instance, if you have a relationship with a studio, they may be using freelancers at some time. But there's always an account manager for the studio who ensures that the setup is exactly what we want. Certainly it helps if you develop a relationship with the producer. So there will be a producer there, and there will be at least one cameraman, if not two. But often there will only be 3 people around me in the studio, and they will be worrying about lights, sound, direction, timing, and everything else. The rest of it really comes from people like me, because I'll be thinking about the ideas, I'll be scripting, I'll be rehearsing, and I'll be inviting the guests and making sure they're happy and comfortable.
So if we maybe take us through the Hovis as an example. You had that idea yourself, did you?
No, I didn't. I certainly, it was the show I came together with, but where the idea comes from, you know, it's a good idea. There'd be 100 people who claim it. But actually what it was we said to a lot of advertising agencies, what have you got that we don't normally see? So what you may not know is with a lot of ad agencies, they will be shooting on location when they're filming a big production like Hovis, they'll be filming behind the scenes. So there's some great footage that we used of the extras and how this street was set up for the ad. And there was this incredible sort of time-travelling event through the ad and how they brought that logistics together. Now the funny thing is, in the days of just print, you wouldn't necessarily see that video. It would only be available in the agency or on the director's show reel, so only some certain key people in the industry would see it. Now we know that's available. Once we knew that was available, well, there's an award-winning ad, there's some footage you can't see elsewhere, there's your show. Get the people involved on. Of course you expect them to be articulate and passionate, and of course they were, and the 2 guys who came along to talk about Hovis were wonderful, and that's your show, and it's no more complex than that. But the big thing is, we're telling a story that can't really be told in a different medium, not the same way.
So you start off, you've got an idea, you know it's going to work, and with Hovis you're, okay, we've got the ad, we can show the ad, which is fantastic. We can have some footage shot on location. I've got some important studio guests who can discuss this with me. You've got all those things together. Next stage, I guess, for you is to write the script, is it?
Yes, it is, and don't be too rigid with the script is certainly my advice and certainly my experience, and don't be afraid to do all those editing tricks. So, you know, you turn away, you look at the screen when the ad is being played to the audience. All of those things need to be incorporated. But actually the script writing itself isn't the hardest thing.
So do you have ambitions for Brand Republic TV? Could it be a channel of its own?
Yes, I mean, I have loads of ideas, loads of ambitions. Not all of them I'll reveal at once, but I certainly feel that our job is to make that more and more varied. So I think that it won't just be about one series of shows as this current run is. There is also a lot of room for us to be more topical, more news-based, more reactive to events. But there's also a way of delving into different areas of the industry. What I do think though is we've got to be very careful to keep it visual. So for instance, you can look at certain areas of the industry that are very hard to represent on screen. Now, there is technology that can help you do that, and you can do that, and we certainly do some successful things with titles like marketing here, called the Marketing Masterclass, and that will be someone talking about, say, search marketing and there will be slides running alongside them, so you can see that. But that's a very much, that's less a broadcast sort of view. You're not telling a story, you are explaining something to someone. It's a different discipline. So yes, a lot of ambition there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.